Hey guys, so I know z-scores are a little intimidating, so I wanted to just make a kind of video for you. So again, your goal for today was to introduce you to z-scores, show you how to read a z-score table, and use z-scores to locate a percentage. So this is information that you were given. Hopefully you read through it. This is the formula that you're going to use. So this is going to be the data point, which is going to be x, okay, minus the average, or this mu, or the mean, if you want to use that word too. And then you get the standard deviation that's on the bottom, okay? And z-score is going to help us find the percentage of something that's not on our normal distribution, in the sense of it doesn't have the clear expectations, the clear percentages. So on this first problem on your practice, it says Mr. Jones' Algebra 2 classes averaged a 78 on a recent test. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to put 78 as the mean right here. Okay, and he calculated a standard deviation of 4. Okay, so if we were going to create a normal distribution, which is what you learned yesterday, you would add 4 each time. So 78 plus 4, that would give you 82. 82 plus 4, that would give you 86. And then you would do the other side. Okay. And so this is kind of what you had set up yesterday, and you would go one more standard deviation. I know some of y'all are like the technical. Okay, so our question asks, a test grade greater than an 80. So if I was looking at this, I want a test grade that's greater than 80. That's 80 that's going to fall in here, and all of this space. Well, I've got to figure out what this percentage is. So here's how you do it. You got to find the z-score and then use the z-score table to help you find that. So you're going to take the point 80, subtract your average, which was 78, right? And then you're going to divide it by your standard deviation, which is 4. Okay, so 80 minus 78, that's going to give me 2. And we're going to divide it by 4. So that's going to give me 2 divided by 4, which is, you put that in your calculator, 0.5 or 1/2, right? Okay. Since this z-score is positive, we're going to go to the positive z-score table. That's very, very important. Okay, so we're going to go to the positive z-score table, and notice how it says positive z-score table. Okay, and we're going to read this where we're going to find 0.5. So we're going to start right here in this corner, and we're going to go down the left side, and then we'll move across this way. But we're just looking for the number 0.50, okay? So we're going to go down to 0.5, and this right here is going to be our z-score number. Now, one thing I want to preface on this, though. This is always from the left of the graph. So this is the area of the curve from the left, okay? Back on our question, we're trying to find the right side of 80. So really what we're going to do is we're going to take our z-score of 0.6915, 0.6915, okay? And we're going to take 1 minus this, and that's going to be our percentage. So we're going to go into our calculator, and we're going to type 1 minus 0.6915. Hit enter. And that's going to give us 30.85%. Okay. This next one's a little tricky, just because, and you'll see it in just a second, actually. So let's go ahead and talk through this one. So you're going to take this point, 50, and again, our mean was 78, right? So we're going to take 50 minus 78, and we're going to divide it by our standard deviation, which is going to give us 4. Okay, so again, the formula for that is going to be z-score is found by taking your point and subtracting the average and putting it over the standard deviation. Okay, all right, so 50 minus 78 is going to give us negative 28, and then we're going to divide it by 4. So negative 28 divided by 4 is going to give us negative 7. All right, so we're going to have a z-score of negative 7. So this time we're going to use the negative z-score table. Again, look in the top left-hand corner. It'll say negative or positive, okay? And so you're going to go to negative 7. All right, well, let's look at our table. Well, do you see how this is at negative 3.4? Okay, well, look at what your percentages are, these z-scores, right? So you've got 0.002. Well, if I turn that into a percentage, that's going to be 0.02%. That's not even going to be that big, right? Like, that's not likely to happen. But we're trying to find a z-score of -7. This is off this chart, right? It's not likely going to happen. So when we go back to this problem, a test grade less than 50, it's going to be less than that 1%, right? So it's not likely to happen. Probably no one got less than a 50 on that then. Not likely to happen, right? This is not going to happen, or you might have one person have done it, but again, we don't know what this class size is, and we don't know what the range is, okay? So we're going to just say that it's less than that 1% because that z-score is going to be off that table, okay? So let's look at C. So a test grade between 66 and 90. So what you're going to do on this one is you're going to take your point, subtract your average over your standard deviation, okay? So we're going to take this first point, and this is what we're doing. So 66, we're going to go into our calculator, 66 minus 78. Make sure you hit enter before you divide, then divide by 4, and that's going to give you -3, okay? We're going to also find a z-score for this 90. Okay, so we're going to do 90 minus 78 divided by 4. So I'm going into my calculator. I'm going to do 90 minus 78, hit enter, and divide by 4. So that's going to give me 3. Okay, so I'm going to go to the negative z-score table, and I'm going to find the z-score for -3. So I'm going to go to my negative z-score table, and when it's -3, what is my z-score? -3. That's going to be that 0.0013. So I'm going to go back to that page. So this is going to be 0.0013. And then I'm going to go to the positive and look at 3. Okay, so positive, and I'm going to look for 3. And that's going to be 0.9987. 0.9987. Okay, and between these two, because they're going to be in between these two, right? So we're going to take each of these percentages, or decimals right now, and we're going to subtract them. So we're going to take 0.9987 and subtract 0.0013. Okay, so we're going to go into our calculator, and we're going to type 0.9987 minus 0.0013. And that's going to give us 0.9974. 0.9974. So this is going to be 99.74%. Now let's think about this really quick. So if I have an average of 78, and then I have that standard deviation of 4, okay, and I'm trying to find between 60 to 90, well, look at where our graph is, okay, on this graph right here. So from 60 to 90, that covers most of our normal distribution, right? So it's going to be close to 100% of our area, okay? Z-scores are helping us find the percentage that's underneath the curve, okay? All right, so on number 2, this one's a little tricky. And again, z-score is a little tough. So maybe the first time that you look at this stuff, you may not get it. It does take more than one looking at, okay? All right, so what is the z-score if the shaded area represents the probability? Okay, so really quick. We know that halfway is right here, okay? So this is where our mean would be. And this would be 1 standard deviation over. Okay, so really this is hitting like 1 standard deviation over. And I'm just kind of assuming because normally what they're going to do is they're going to tell you what this percentage is, like what this number is. And so for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you that this is 0.16. So the best way to do this, and again, 0.16 is what I'm giving to you. And that's just kind of like an estimate of this. So if I go to my z-squared tables, and I'm looking at both of them, but I'm looking for 0.16 on the table. So if I'm looking at this, where is 0.16 in this table? And I know this is a lot of numbers, but if you kind of look in here, you see this 0.16, and then you see this 0.1587, okay? That's saying that in between negative 0.99 and negative 0.89, it's going to be that 16%. So our z-score is going to be negative 0.99 roughly. Okay. Again, normally they would give you a better number that actually tell you what the shaded region is, like what percentage is it, so that you could find the z-score. But in this case, I'm telling you that it's going to be 0.16 here. Okay. All right. And number 3, it says Mr. Bradley has found the grades on the Algebra 2 final exams are normally distributed with a mean of 64 and a standard deviation of 11. If the passing grade is 54, what % of the class will fail? Oh, okay. So 64% is the middle. Okay, and we're doing a standard deviation of 11. So if we add 11 to 64, that's going to give us 75. Okay, if we subtract 64 and 11, that's going to give us 53. Okay, and then we could keep going if we wanted to, but for right now, this will tell us enough. And if the passing grade is 54, so that means that it's going to fall right in here. And we're trying to find all this junk over here. So these are the kids who passed the final exam, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take 54, and we're going to subtract the mean, which is 64. Okay, and then we're going to divide by the standard deviation, which is 11. So 54 minus 64 is negative 10, and then we're going to divide by 11. So when we go into our calculator, we get negative 10 divided by 11, and that's going to give us negative 9.09. Okay, so this will be negative 0.91 roughly. We're just going to go ahead and round that to make it easier on ourselves. So then we're going to go to the negative z-score table, and we're going to find the percentage. So negative z-score table, negative. Okay, negative 9.91. Okay, so if we're looking at here, get rid of all these extra lines. Okay, so if we're looking here, and we got negative 0.9, we're looking for 1. So that's 8.1814, right? Okay, so again, just a reminder, when you're looking at this stuff, remember the z-scores are written for the left side of the curve. It's coming from the left side. So if we have 0.1814, then you're going to say 1 minus 0.1814 because you're trying to find the right side of that curve, right? Okay, so I'm going to go into my calculator, and I'm going to say 1 minus 0.1814. And that's going to give me 81. What percent of the class will fail? I'm sorry. Let me take that back. This would be how many people passed. Okay, but this asks what percent of the class will fail. Well, 18.14% will fail. Okay, so I apologize for that. So we're actually finding the other side. We're finding the other way. Yeah, we're finding this side. We're wanting to know, hey, who failed? Okay, so that's going to be that 18.14%. Okay, if Mr. Bradley only wanted 85% of the class to pass, what should the passing grade be? Okay, so I'm going to erase all of this stuff, and I'm probably going to start on this one in just a second.